My name is Dave Thomas, and I'm a program manager at the International Association of Chiefs of Police and a national law enforcement trainer. Now, the video you are about to watch explains what crime victim compensation is and how officers can ensure victims in their communities receive proper access to it. All crime victims have rights, including the right to receive resources, services, and access to financial assistance. And crime victim compensation is a key resource for victims. Each state's program is administered differently and has individual requirements, such as acceptable types of claims and time limits on reporting to law enforcement. However, all state compensation programs provide financial support to qualifying crime victims. Law enforcement officers have an important role in telling victims about compensation assistance, as well as providing accurate documentation in police reports to support compensation eligibility.
Response priority for an assault. Call manager caller. He said a subject shot at him.
263 on the internet with as well.
4 I located the victim.
The biggest need that a victim has in the immediate aftermath of crime is to know that somebody cares about what happened to them. Most times, the first person that will be is a uniformed law enforcement officer.
You're responding to people that are at their weakest moments, usually.
Hi.
Victims have already been through a horrible traumatic event, and they need to know that the police are there to assist them.
Says her husband, see the slap on her chest? She says her husband slapped her across the chest.
You know, a victim immediately after a trauma has different needs than they might need 24 hours later, a week later, a month later.
It's important for officers to keep in mind that when they respond to any scene, that crime victim compensation does exist, that we need to get our victims in touch with these services to help them with the long-term care that they're going to need. It comes down to the small things when a police officer is responding out, for a victim to understand that the officer really is there for them and not just there to collect information for a report.
So you have to get onto a more human level. I actually asked them, what do you need? What do you need from me?
Most police departments have a tremendously heavy caseload, but to that victim and their families, their case is the most important.
Providing a victim with access to financial support, compensation for the losses that they've incurred because of the tragedy, really create a foundation to make sure that they have the basic human needs met.
I was in my apartment and two guys, armed guys, took my phone and they assaulted me, asked me for money, and they tried to rape me.
Because we are the first people on the scene in a traumatic incident, if they feel comfortable with us, we set it for the next detective that has to speak to them. If they're comfortable with me, they'll be comfortable with them.
I put my clothes again, then went to my neighbors, asked for the phone, and called 911. The officer showed it on my apartment. One of the officers just looked into my eyes like, are you really okay?
We get there and she's sitting at her kitchen table and she's just blank face.
I was just in shock, I guess.
I said, tell me, start over. Let's talk about what's going on here.
And everybody's different and everybody processes trauma different. When everyone goes through a traumatic incident, you're not thinking straight. Follow-up is important because when something so traumatic happened, I can't expect you to remember every little detail right now.
I think that was very helpful that they treat me respectful. I'm really here for you. What do you need?
I don't think she would have been able to tell her story if we would not have been able to relate to her on an emotional level.
There was kind. That matters a lot. That was very kind.
In those cases, as an officer, you have to learn to read behind the scenes of what's going on with the person and give them the help that they need on scene to make sure that they receive the help weeks later, months later, years later.
I made contact with the victims program department here in Houston. They explained the process. So well, after that, I got the victims crime program application. I sent all my paperwork to get the claim. The program helped me with the counseling.
I understand that she's been receiving counseling for 3 years.
Just getting into the program was definitely the best decision that I made.
She was very traumatized, and had the details not come out, she would have never received the kind of help that she needed.
The states have set up crime victim compensation programs to compensate for the financial injury or financial loss a crime victim suffers.
When officers respond to a scene here at Southern Ute Police Department, the officers have already prepared packets and information on shelters and counseling services, as well as the Crime Victims Compensation Fund.
It's really just getting the information in victims' hands so that they understand the basics.
We have at our disposal forms already typed up. We simply have to give it to them. We can write a case number. It's as streamlined as it can be for a patrol officer.
Every state's compensation program is different. We each have different eligibility guidelines and different laws that we have to follow, but we all have the same general mission, and that is to compensate crime victims for losses sustained as a result of crime.
Some of those resources that crime victims compensation may cover may be housing, relocation, medical expenses, out-of-pocket losses for wages, and emergency funding.
I'm able to show the victims the application. I go over the application with them. I attach a copy of the police report to the application.
Since we don't wait for a conviction, we're looking at the police report to see what the facts are, to see if it is an eligible crime for a compensation benefit.
John Robert Charlie 806.
These are things only you are seeing as a patrol officer. So if you leave it out, then it can mean a huge difference in the life of a victim. What you write in the initial report is always very important.
Everything's about relationships, and what we need to do from the moment that person comes in contact with us, we need to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make them feel like they matter to us.
What we do here with the Special Liaison Branch, which encompasses our LGBT Liaison Unit, our Asian Liaison Unit, Latino Liaison Unit, our Deaf and Hard of Hearing Liaison Unit, we try and build relationships with members in those communities.
On May the 27th, around 11:30 p.m., I received a call. There was a male victim in the ambulance. He's deaf and he's autistic. I responded to Children's Hospital and met with the family. After about 3 days, I visited the home. I went into having a conversation with the family, the mom and the dad, letting them know what's available. Here's a copy of the report. Here's a copy of the victim compensation application and my contact information. We went through the application page by page.
And once I connected with the victim, I was able to sit down with the mother and try to find out what her needs are. We talked about what is available to her as far as crime victims compensation for the medical injuries and the lost wages from work. Her and the child's father were off of work for some period of time, taking care of the son.
Yes, that's covered under crime victims compensation.
They're more likely to come back and help with the case. Once they see that those basic needs are met, they're more likely to collaborate with the investigation.
The victim advocate emphasizes the services. They're the ones that can actually put these pieces into place for the victim.
There's no time frame on how long they can get services. It will continue for the duration of, the time that she feels they need it.
You might not have a unit like the Victim Services Unit, but so many resources are out there through the state, and you can make sure that the officers that are responding to the scene know about victim services.
Most communities are fortunate to have great organizations that provide comprehensive care. We have an obligation to be aware of those services that are provided and understand how to make referrals.
We have to know what each agency does because it's not just our job alone. We do it with everybody else. And most of our job on patrol is referrals. Go and find out in your community who can provide those resources for you.
The more that we leverage those relationships, the partnerships, and the resources, I think the more effective we are in terms of the way that we're responding to the needs of our community.
Your reaching out to the victim of a crime can be the difference between that person's life being changed for the better or them never being able to move forward from that traumatic event. And that's why it's so important, because we can't just be about putting a Band-Aid on it and then moving on to the next one. It's about gaining their trust that law enforcement is here to help them.
Victims' compensation services are very important because the less things that somebody has to worry about while they're trying to survive after tragedy, the better they're able to focus on their health and wellness. The financial impact is vital.
If you're caring, you're an active listener, and you show compassion to the victim, it's going to help your case, and it's going to get better services for the victim and the people we serve.